driving home for WrestleMe.
If you're in a car, we would say, please do pull over, because we're going to be talking about The Undertaker, and it could get very frightening.
Quite frankly, it's a stinker. Undertaker versus Undertaker, Mark.
This is a sort of key part of the Undertaker mythology.
Right.
The first time, really, they tried to tell a very complex supernatural story, and it's appalling.
My shit show.
I'm bad!
But not in a Michael Jackson. I've got Michael Jackson. Oh, God.
There's definitely a similarity, isn't there?
Yeah, massively. The powdered makeup.
Paul doesn't go on without his Jesus juice.
Oh, my hair burned off. I was filming an advert for Pepsi-Cola.
My father was horrible. Could be either.
Could be either.
Don't know what William Moody III's dad is like. But I mean, son ended up in wrestling, so it can't be that great. So, fantastic. This is a great period of Undertaker, if you specifically like Undertaker when he wasn't watchable.
Yeah, in the same way that a period is a uterus lining dispatched into some wherever you keep your periods,
guys. What if
guys?
the real Undertaker is sitting at home in his dotage going, well, now I've retired, I'm going to catch up on all these wrestling podcasts. And this is that. And he just goes, look, I just call me a period lining.
Yes, he did. Yes, I did.
2 years later, Undertaker would be having proper career-defining matches, great wrestling matches. He'd even get sort of some 5-star in the Wrestling Observer matches.
Yeah.
He has had longer at the top level than anybody else in WWE history. Nobody else has been able to replicate that. Watching this, you would not have said he is going to be one of the best remembered, longest lasting stars of all time. This is SummerSlam 94, where he'd taken a bit of time out beforehand. He'd had back injuries and he'd had a young family, and he decided to spend some time with them. And they had him lose a match to Yokozuna at the Royal Rumble in January. A really sort of confusing casket match where he'd sort of ascended to heaven afterwards in sort of like electric light. Oh, it's so confusing.
I will not rest in peace.
We've never seen anything. Anything quite like this. What is it? Hey, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. What is going on? What is going on? I don't believe what I'm seeing.
It must be quite confusing to his children, his young children, because he's this hero on television that's a dead man that they only see when he's lying down on a big long sofa going, give me my pills.
The ghost's back, mummy. The ghost's back and it's eating all our turkey.
Age 14 from Stoke-on-Trent. He wants to know, when are you going to fight Bret the Hitman Hart?
I have a few other opponents first, Yokozuna being the first that I must dispose of, which will happen September 14th.
It will happen.
And somewhere down the line, maybe, Bret the Hitman Hart.
And just quickly, what do you think of Ant and Dec?
Ant, Dec.
Yeah.
The strange thing about this, his kids wouldn't have had a clue what was going on.
Yeah.
Because when I watched this last night, I could not follow what was happening.
No, it was a very complex concept.
There was a little bit that leads up to the actual match itself where they do a recap. I say a little bit. It was just under 7 minutes long. And it's not like you might imagine a package where there's loads of music and things. It is just Todd Pettengill. Yeah. It's just Todd Pettengill explaining it so you can follow it at breakneck speed because there's so much information to convey.
That's right. It's gotta be Domino's. Gotta be Domino's. All right, now...
This was a bit I took out at random, but it will give you a little bit of a flavour of how fucking chaotic this whole plot line is.
No secret, folks, Paul Bearer was not going to get out of this grip of the $1 Million Man's Undertaker by himself. Then the mysterious happening. The lights begin to flicker. Look at the face of that brain surgeon, Jerry Lawler. The $1 Million Man, everybody looking all over. The crowd goes crazy as they feel the presence of Paul Bearer's Undertaker. And when the lights come back on, not only has Paul Bearer escaped from that grip, but he's outside the ring proclaiming the presence of his Undertaker. He's here!
Whoa.
Nobody ever. My Undertaker. Like,
The fact that you've got to the point where you're going Paul Bearer's Undertaker meets Ted DiBiase's Undertaker, but then Paul Bearer was aware. No! Stop! This is wrestling, mate. You just go, oh, he doesn't like him or he's got a belt. Done.
does the Undertaker have a Paul Bearer as well? Is it fractal? It's like
What?
recursive.
So what are these Undertakers? And the only thing I can think is it's like, remember when we used to watch like
Get ready for next year's Royal Rumble. There'll be 30 of them.
Worth saying, in this one where they're supposed to be the same, not even the two Undertakers can be bothered to wear the same thing. So Paul Bearer's Undertaker has got a purple gloves and a purple hatband.
Yeah.
The other, Ted DiBiase's Undertaker, is wearing what the Undertaker used to wear before he decided to inexplicably change it. The one time he should have kept the original thing on.
The purple's so weird. And like, it's like the very best fighting games of the 90s. You'd get like basically it's a cheap way of conserving memory.
Yeah.
You'd just have one character in memory, just change the colours over.
Yellow,
give him a
blue,
slightly
Mortal
different skill
Kombat,
set. Yeah,
nicely
exactly.
done.
Yeah. And the Scorpion and Sub-Zero looking exactly the fucking same.
The funny thing is, in this, I mean, it would have been just as expensive or as cost-effective to get someone who actually was the same height as the Undertaker.
Just give one of them built-up shoes. And, I mean, and the Undertaker, sorry, Paul Bearer's fucking Undertaker is not helping out.
The easiest way to do it is the Undertaker and the Underfaker. The idea behind this was just that they were bringing Undertaker back, and he was always such a big star.
Yeah.
They were like, who could we bring him back against? And they were like, well, Yokozuna, and they were a bit like, but they've had matches and stuff.
Right, okay,
we need
yeah.
someone massive to bring him back to. And Pritchard in his podcast, he said that he was the chap who said, it'd be great to have another Undertaker, wouldn't it? That's what we need. And then he went, actually, why don't we have another Undertaker? And Vince McMahon had said, what do you mean? And he sort of went, let's make another Undertaker.
Oh, dear.
And that was the idea.
For the company, he's got the world title, and it wasn't even the original plan. And now his first pay-per-view after, it's named after him. In Your House, Revenge of Taker. He's the champ. He's on the poster. He doesn't get to work the main event. Does he take that personally? Does he take it personally? He doesn't go on last.
No.
Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate all the context.
I mean, what's there to...
And I was thinking, it's like, I mean, what are the Undertakers then? You go, there's another Undertaker. The only way I can work it out is it's like Star Wars. And you remember when Chewbacca was just like Chewbacca?
Yeah.
And then if you've seen Rogue One, there's loads more Wookiees.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a planet of the Undertakers. And that's what they are. Because otherwise, what is he? Because it's like, I'm the Undertaker, and you're like, so am I. Are you? Actually, you're going to like this. That's what happened in real life.
What?
So Brian Lee played the Underfaker, and Brian Lee was a good friend of the Undertaker himself, and I believe the Undertaker suggested Brian Lee for the part, saying,
right, okay.
He's a friend of mine, and actually, when we're out, sometimes people get us confused. They were really good friends, and when Undertaker was a big star, he'd often pay Brian Lee to house sit and look after his animals and things like that. Brian Lee repaid him he got arrested for a domestic violence issue, and he told the arresting officers, Brian Lee, I'm the WWF's Undertaker. Is there any chance that I could not be doing this? And they said no, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
And it went straight on their local news. WWF's The Undertaker arrested in domestic violence. Undertaker was really, really upset about that. There are other suggestions as to why their friendship ended. I'm so nervous about how to phrase this that I couldn't finish the word ended.
Sorry, I'll be writing a court later.
The rumour online is that there may have been a romantic dalliance between Brian Lee, the Underfaker,
one of his animals.
The Undertaker's then wife.
Oh.
And that was the end of their friendship.
Well, that will happen.
Yeah, you can imagine so. I mean, it's that thing about they say you've got to be the Undertaker. The guy was, credit to him, his method. It's like the hand that rocks the cradle. It just takes over his life. Oh, amazing. Brian Lee is very much more slender than the Undertaker in this. And it's only really when they go close up that they look, unlike each other, which is a shame. The problem with this match is, oh God, it's appalling. They're wrestling like they aren't human. And so they're doing almost like Frankenstein, that slow, ponderous Undertaker nonsense.
And you can't both do that.
No.
It just makes the match needlessly slow. They start with a double punch, and they both got a punch at the same time. It's crap.
Yeah.
It's not a great start.
Even if they've got it right, they shouldn't have bothered.
Yeah, and Paul Bearer's doing his best. That's all I'm saying. He is running around all over the place.
Is great in this. He looks like a big fat grey jelly at a goth party. He is unbelievable, but he's just on top form. And I think it's slightly that he's like, I am going to try and really... You see, I was about
could
to
ruin
say,
my boy.
I was about to say he was trying to make it good. Everyone at the time thought this was the fucking business.
Really?
This storyline. So there's that funny thing of they brought in Leslie Nielsen, who was coming off the Naked Gun. I think 33 1/3 had not been out long before, and they paid him clearly a bit of money to do these vignettes where they had him in character as Frank Drebin from Police Squad and Naked Gun, looking for the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Now a few of them were appalling.
Imagine Leslie Nielsen without writing. Like it's just, it's just like following your favourite actor on Twitter. You're like, you're a twat, mate.
Yeah,
like,
it really is. Now there are some really terrible ones. There is one that isn't that bad.
Right.
That's got Ray Rougeau and Macho Man Randy Savage in.
All right, fans, Ray Rougeau here. The Undertaker mystery is thickening. I want to start that over. I didn't like it.
There I was, heading poolside, trying to catch some rays. Sorry, Ray. We're feeling macho.
Macho Man, you're so big.
Easy now, girls. It's family entertainment. Yeah.
I had work to do. I was scanning around the globe for clues to the biggest mystery of our time. The sun was extremely bright.
If your deductive capabilities were a fraction of what you professed, this incognito caper would have been solved by now.
Thank you, son. Right kid. And he was right. After all this time, I'm still tormented by that one burning question. How can there be two Undertakers?
Maybe one is corrupt like you. Police, arrest that man.
He's looking at another Frank Drebin there. It's very much a visual gag, which doesn't go to the medium of podcasting particularly well. But that said, I mean, if you watch it, it's not funny either.
No,
so
you're not gonna, you get to see Macho Man Randy Savage.
But they obviously spent money on getting that done, and getting that filmed, and they really thought this was going to be a big routine. There were some odd things I noticed, actually, when I was watching it. So Paul Bearer is so good in his role, and there's a bit where, when it comes out, they bring a massive coffin out that's supposed to got the Undertaker in, and there's the other problem with this. Like the two Undertakers are slow. They come out to the same music, and you hear this same piece of Undertaker's music, which is normally great. You hear it about 7 times.
Yeah.
And by the time you're on the 5th, you're really like, oh, I've had enough of this. They had no idea it was going to be as bad as it was. There's some funny stuff where I think the Undertaker blames Bret Hart. So the main event of this SummerSlam is this two Undertaker versus Undertaker.
Yeah, that was the match I didn't realise it was a main event.
It's a main event. The match before was Bret Hart versus Owen Hart in a steel cage match, widely regarded as probably the greatest steel cage match of the 90s, really.
Right.
Arguable, all these things are. But they'd gone a bit long. And so this match was originally supposed to go about 20 minutes. In the end, it went for about 11.
Right.
And it's the slowest 11 minutes you'll ever watch in your life. Apparently, Undertaker had words with Bret Hart afterwards. Sort of, Bret Hart's the champion. Bret Hart has just done this amazing match with his own brother. Undertaker coming out going, actually, mate, you sort of really fucked this. And you're like, mate, I saw your 12 minutes. It was shite. You wanted 20, did you? Yeah, actually, if we'd had 20, it wouldn't have been shit. It would have been really cool.
We were building to something.
Oh, that's your thing, is it?
We could have done 15 more Tombstone.
Your Paul Bearer is all very good at this, but why hasn't he got a supernatural tie? Why is it just a normal tie, like that a man in the 90s would wear? You haven't thought it through, mate, and your match was shit. That's my impression of Bret Hart.
Nice.
But it's, I mean, hey, what else is dead in this match? The crowd. The crowd are absolutely...
Paul Bearer's Undertaker. And no, they're missing with the clothesline there to the outside. You can hear the virtual silence of this capacity crowd. They're stunned. And we had no idea exactly what we were going to see. It's very eerie.
When they say lines
just
like
confused.
Why wouldn't you be?
Especially if you're in the bleacher, if you're in the back, you're like, I don't know which one's which.
Two identical ants.
I need exactly.
Are they fighting or are they fucking? Just curious. The commentators have to use that line where they just go, this capacity crowd in awe. They don't know what to think seeing two Undertakers. Oh, they fucking do. They do. They think they wish they were at home.
I'd be drinking hard enough to see 4 Undertakers.
If you don't think it ends badly enough, and it does take forever to go, it then cuts back for a little sort of wrap up with Leslie. What's his name? Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
I steered away from Leslie Nielsen because I mentioned Dennis Nielsen earlier when we recorded this.
I always get Dennis Nielsen mixed up with Leslie Nielsen.
God, that amazing. Would have been funny. That would have been a really tasteless comedy film. There's a little clip that I've managed to find from a rare Undertaker interview that he did probably it's probably the late 90s.
He doesn't do any interviews, that guy. And imagine the stories.
This is the first time that you've appeared on British television since 1994. Mate, where have you been?
I don't know. I must have been a huge hit, I guess.
My hip joint looked like a landmine had gone off on it. I mean, it was just potholes, and I had spurs and arthritis. And I had to audible. I'm the tenured vet there, right? And I remember telling him, all right, kid, it's your night. I put the choke on him, and I threw my hair back. And when I threw my hair back, my eyes went back. And I said, I wonder if I could hold him back there.
That's how you get a chicken wing. You don't tear it off with your hands. I'm not going to mention any names.
This is not a highlight of his, but he did talk to this show called Off the Record, and this is The Undertaker in 1999 talking about this angle.
Mark, what did you think of the Undertaker versus Undertaker feud?
On paper, I thought it was very intriguing. I was kind of disappointed in how it ended up. It didn't get the mileage out of it that we were really looking for. But I think on paper, it was a good idea.
He's actually he's got an interesting accent, hasn't he? I wouldn't expect him to have that sort of accent.
He's a big Texan. It would have been great if every time he pretended he was going to do an interview out of character, he then did it in character, where he would go, I sent him back to that. Oh, fucking hell. Did we pay for him to get here? This is so annoying. What a waste of money. So, what would you think is probably your defining moment? I remember. Bollocks. I suppose this is remembered to some degree because this is an attempt to make The Undertaker a sort of supernatural and more interesting character. And actually what you can see here is they get it right when they do his long, sort of years-long feud with Kane, where they've got a strange backstory about secrets and his brother and dead parents and revenge and things. And that's really a successful version of what I think they thought they were going to do here.
Yeah.
The case is closed. The case is closed. You solved the mystery. I don't know how you do it. Come on, let's go get something to eat.
The case is closed.
See, only people that don't really understand get upset about that. I will never.
I'm not upset about it. I'm asking if he was upset about it.
No. And I answer the question, and then you get pissed off. Go, thanks for the context, because you think that it's like it's a big deal. Oh, if you don't,
I didn't say it was a big deal. I asked if it was a big deal to him, and you said no.
But acting like it should be a big deal because you probably think it's a big deal when it's not a big deal.
I didn't say it was a big deal.
Yeah, you act like it's a big deal, though.
Hey,